Hello and welcome to our live stream review of Crow in Name Only. Before we get into the nitty gritty, I want to make a couple announcements. First things first, as you can see, we are joined by a special guest. I figured if we are talking about this thing, then I gotta have this guy on. So everybody, please welcome my very good friend and Crow fanatic, Alex.
Hey guys.
And the second announcement I want to make is we have officially hit 110 subscribers. I know that's not Mr. Beast levels, but it's still a big deal to us.
And we don't fuck kids, so
Exactly.
Cheers to both of those things.
So anyone that subscribed and watched our streams, thank you. Here's some more. With that out of the way, you know who we all are. You know the routine. Is that gasoline I smell? No, it's just a shitty movie. Coming from someone who has never read the comics, The Crow from 1994 is one of my all-time favorite films. It was a gem in the 90s where we were getting a lot of underwhelming comic book movies. For every Crow, Batman Returns, or The Mask, you had a Batman and Robin or a Steel. The original had amazing acting, great action, memorable characters, beautiful setting, perfectly executed themes, and quite possibly the greatest soundtrack to any movie I have ever heard. It perfectly matches the 90s gothic, grungy aesthetic with bands such as The Cure, Nine Inch Nails, Stone Temple Pilots, Pantera, and Rage Against the Machine. It's a shame we lost Brandon Lee so soon, because he would have had such a promising career after this movie. Hey, Jason. Side note, I've never seen the crappy sequels. A remake was in development hell for years until they finally announced that Bill Skarsgard, who I've always thought was a very good actor in everything I saw him in. I mean, I've shown this off before. I have a tattoo of his Pennywise on my arm. I'm like, oh, he's gonna play the Crow? Oh, that's a good pick. And then they announced they were going to do Eric and Shelley again. And I was like,
what?
Why are we doing these two again? There's multiple characters you could pick, but okay. And then we saw the first look images of him with all those stupid tattoos. Then we saw the terrible trailer. And the lack of advertising for this movie. And the fact that the embargo lifted the day before release, all of those factors had me convinced that this movie was going to be fucking garbage. I walked into the theater with Alex, again, who was a Crow super fan. We had no hope for this movie. No expectations. We knew what we were getting into. After seeing it, I can say with absolute confidence, American Society of Magical Negroes, you have competition for worst movie of the year. Was there anything good to be found in this movie? No. Fuck no. For any good potential idea this movie had, it falls flat on its face and breaks all of its teeth. Let's get into it, shall we? First things first, this movie is horribly paced and incredibly boring. I nodded off multiple times during this movie. The first 40 minutes focuses on this romance between Eric and Shelley before they're killed, and I wouldn't have an issue with that if there was actually chemistry between the two. And there isn't. Not once did I buy these two were in love. And no, their George Lucas romance dialogued into them any favors. You only saw flashbacks of Eric and Shelley's relationship, and you thought they loved each other. You also have Eric doubt his love for Shelley, which absolutely goes against the point of the comic and the original film, because his love for her was what made him stronger. Has Rupert Sanders even seen the original movie? Can you guys hear me okay? Oh, okay. Their relationship is just them doing drugs and having sex in horribly edited sex scenes and saying cringe romance dialogue. After they get killed, you think, oh, he's finally going to be the Crow. Crow, right? Right? Wrong! The next half is just Eric bitching and complaining about whether or not he should go after these guys or not. And when he doesn't even put the makeup on until an hour and 15 minutes into the movie. Most of it, he's just talking to this random fucking old guy who I don't know who is supposed to be the Grim Reaper. Is he supposed to be the Skull Cowboy? It's never explained. It doesn't feel like the Crow when he's going after these guys. It's just some random douche with plot armor going after random bad guys. And when he finally becomes the Crow, you've already checked out of this movie. You don't care anymore because this movie has been so fucking boring, you're already big enough to end. The acting from everyone in this movie is terrible, and the characters they play are all flat and lifeless. Nobody cared. Everybody phoned it in. Bill Skarsgård, who, like I said, I've consistently liked in everything I saw him in, he was so awkward as this version of Eric. He spoke in this whiny voice, and this version of Eric is nothing but a fucking pussy and a pushover. Not to mention, his accent kept going in and out, and it was so distracting. And I gotta bring this up again. I fucking hate how he looks. Look, I like tattoos. I have tattoos. I just don't like stupid tattoos. And the makeup on him is just lazy. It's just his Pennywise makeup. He has no character in this movie, and when he does show character, it's not good. Brandon Lee made Eric such a likable, badass guy who knew when to be serious. He was like a predator playing with his food. That's what made it work so well. Yeah, he knew when to be serious, but you could tell he was having a blast fucking with these guys. FKA Twigs. God, that fucking name hurts. She should maybe stick to singing, because she cannot act to save her life. She has one facial expression in this whole movie. That's it. She just looks fucking stoned, and she can't close her mouth. Close your fucking mouth, bitch! Close your mouth! Not even when she dies, she still can't keep her fucking mouth shut. Not to mention, this version of Shelley is also a very stupid character that ends up causing hers and Eric's deaths. They're both unlikable characters. I hate how they made them both junkies, since if you know anything about the comics, the reason James O'Barr wrote that was because he was trying to cope after losing his girlfriend to a drunk driver. So making them junkies is just so disrespectful to him. Remember that amazing scene where Eric gets Sarah's mom clean? Do you remember that scene? None of that is here. And the villains, they're all so boring and forgettable. Like, you remember the villains in the original. Like Top Dollar, great fucking villain. You remember Fun Boy. Tintin, T-Bird, Skank, Micah, Gideon, Grange. They were so hateful, they were so despicable, and you wanted to see Eric kill these guys, but they were so much fun to watch. And there's also no Sarah or Officer Albrecht in this movie, so there's no audience surrogate for the audience to relate to. Eric and Shelley's friends, they're just nothing characters. If you take them out, nothing changes. The likable characters in that first movie, it shows, even in a dark world, there's still good people in it. There's no positive characters in this dark world. Everyone is just unlikable and bland. The editing in this movie, it's so goddamn terrible and choppy. You can tell scenes were cut that could explain some of the nonsensical bullshit this movie throws at you, and it's just gone. It's especially bad in the beginning, where it cuts to where it will cut from Eric and Shelley being degenerates and doing couple shit, and then it cuts to the villains being evil. The soundtrack is an absolute joke. Yes, I love Joy Division. I like Gary Newman. This soundtrack does not hold a candle to the soundtrack in the original. Besides one or two songs, they all fucking suck. Remember that scene where Eric destroys his apartment? He puts on the makeup while the Cure is blasting? We don't get that. It's just some random pop song. And the action scenes, when they were actually on screen, they're bland. Like, everybody was hyping up the opera house scene. It was so boring. And the CGI blood fucking took me out of it. And speaking of which, the CGI is also terrible. The crows, they look so fucking fake. And there's no point to the crows in this. You can make them seagulls or pigeons or, I don't know, fucking chickens. It would make no difference. The grungy, dirty aesthetic of the original is missing here. That city felt like a character within itself. I knew I wasn't looking at a city. I was looking at a set in the Czech Republic. There's so many plot holes and things in this movie that don't make sense. If Shelley is worried about these clowns killing her, why doesn't she flee the state or the country? What is the point of the crow in this movie if it's going to bring Eric back for the revenge and then Venge does nothing and then gives him powers again? The only reason the crow is here is because the movie is called The Crow. And what the hell is up with the fucking ending? Why did they bring back Shelley? Is there time travel now? My god, fuck this movie! This is one of the worst and most insulting remakes to any movie I have ever seen. I know a lot of people who actually like this movie, and yes, there are people out there that do, are going to say, oh, it's not fair to compare it to the original. They're two different things. No, shut up. Shut up. Shut up. I can't help but compare it to the original. Because the original got so much right, and this got everything wrong. There is not one good thing to be found in this movie. The acting is terrible, the pacing is dreadful, the characters are flat, the romance is not existent, the action is bland, the dialogue is cringeworthy, and worst of all, it's boring. This is not a love letter to Brandon Lee, or The Crow, or the comics. Like Gene Wilder said about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, it is an insult. And like I said about Rob Zombie's Monsters, if this is a love letter to The Crow, Doug Walker's review of The Wall is a love letter to Pink Floyd. Brandon Lee is doing fucking cartwheels in his grave right now. It's another soulless product just to make money. And it barely made money anyway. Avoid this movie like the fucking plague. If you've seen the original, stick to that. Read the comics. Give your money and time to the original or much better movies that are currently out. Alien Romulus, Deadpool and Wolverine, Inside Out 2, Long Legs, or hell, watch the re-release of Coraline, because that made more money than both Borderlands and this. Congrats, Lionsgate. You have 2 flops this year. Are you satisfied? Robert Eggers, please give Skarsgard a better movie. Do not let me down. Sorry that review went on a long time, but I had to do it. 0 out of 10. And brace yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Not a single one of us are going to be kind to this movie. Expect a long review. With that being said, I'm going to hand it off to Alex.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right. I should probably start this off by saying I'm a huge fan of The Crow. It's been my favorite movie since I was 8 years old. I also love the comics by James O'Barr. It's a movie that means a lot to me on a personal level. When this movie was first announced, when the remake was first announced, I was kind of curious to see what they were going to do with it, whether it was going to be more of a adaptation of the comics, maybe similar to Sin City, or if it was going to be more of a remake of the Brandon Lee movie. Of course, because we're doing this review, we know which one we got. I just want to say that even when we saw those Vanity Fair pictures, that's when I was like, oh no. That's when my heart dropped, and I could just tell this wasn't going to be a good movie. At least not a movie for someone like me who loves the original so much. This, as The Rock put it, this is the biggest piece of dog shit I've ever seen, and it's probably the worst movie I've ever seen in theaters. And I saw Thor: Love and Thunder and Star Wars Episode 9 on their respective opening nights. I hate this version of Eric and Shelley. Like, why did it have to be Eric and Shelley? It couldn't have been anyone else or a new character altogether. It had to be it had to be a version of Brandon Lee's character. Why is beyond me. I hate that they made them junkies. It goes back to what Devin said. It's James O'Barr wrote the comics due to the tragedy that was his fiance being killed by a drunk driver. She was killed because of substance abuse. It doesn't make sense they made them junkies at all. This version of Eric is fucking terrible. I have no sympathy or empathy for this character. He's a total pushover who just doesn't seem to give a shit about anything or anyone else but himself. He's just like completely monotone and just unemotional the whole time. And even when he is supposed to be emotional, I just don't buy it. And Bill Skarsgård is a phenomenal actor, but his performance in this was just so I just couldn't buy it. It was like he was sleepwalking through it or something. Just everything from the way he looked to the way this version of Eric was portrayed was just not good. It's not what a remake of The Crow needed. Then we get to Shelley, who's played by FKA Twigs. I would pay to never watch her in another movie again. She was dreadful. Absolutely awful. Not to mention she was a total fucking idiot. She kept making worse decision after worse decision, which led to her and Eric dying. Like, what are you doing? Get the fuck out of there. Oh, it was just so frustrating to watch her and Eric. There was no chemistry between them whatsoever. I did not buy them as a couple. And the dialogue between them when they were supposed to be flirting with each other was some of the most eye-rolling, cringiest, like, middle school bullshit you've ever heard. It was actually unintentionally funny at points, too. I just did not buy them as a couple at all. They were just really unsympathetic and unlikable. I wasn't rooting for them. I wasn't cheering them on like I was in the original movie. And even after Eric came back, I didn't care if he succeeded or not. I just was not interested in this version of the characters. There are side characters, like Shelley's two friends, Zadie and Dominic, but they offer nothing to the movie. You might think when you first see them that either of them will fill out the role that Sarah or Officer Albrecht did, but they don't. They're just nothing characters. Zadie is killed by the main bad guy with no fanfare for it, and Dom only shows up in one other scene to give Eric some exposition about why or what might have led to him and Shelley's death, and then he leaves. It's just, what was the point of that character? Similarly, there's Eric's friend, the tattoo artist, whose name is apparently Chance. I don't remember them saying that. I don't remember them saying that in the movie. He also served no purpose and gets killed off very quickly. And I guess he and Eric really weren't that good of friends because Eric doesn't even mourn him when he dies. He's just like, oh, okay, he's dead then. It just, these characters were so badly written. The performances were so hollow and at times just stiff. And then we get to the bad guys. Danny Houston is by no means a bad actor, but this character was just bland and generic. Because of how bad the pacing was, because we spent too much time on the romance and the love story, we didn't get to really find out who the villain was or what his motivations were. So you're left kind of confused as to what his goals were, and what exactly his supernatural powers are isn't fleshed out well enough for you to be like, oh, okay. And what we do know seems derivative from other things. All of the henchmen that Mr. Rogue employs are just generic henchmen. You remember all the bad guys from the original movie. Even if it's someone who only appeared briefly, they made more of an impact in the original movie than any of the henchmen or thugs did in this one. Never mind the fact that none of them have their own identities or unique personalities to help them stand out when Eric kills them. And this version, and along with that, Eric in this is just not, like, he just kills people randomly with seemingly no reason, like, at all.
Alex? Did Alex freeze?
I think he froze.
Yeah, it looked like he froze.
Hold on.
Unless he's catatonic all of a sudden.
I'm gonna let him know.
So, how about those Jets?
How about those Jets?
Usually they suck.
I was gonna say, look how
There you
fast
are.
those Jets go.
All right, you're good now, Alex. You froze for a bit.
Okay, sorry about that, guys.
You're good. Continue.
It's just really hard to talk about this movie because it's so fucking frustrating and infuriating. The bad guys were just really bland, boring, and generic. You didn't find any of them intimidating or threatening. None of them seemed like there was any potential for them to beat Eric at all. Like, they couldn't have done him any real harm. But then again, Eric was such a pussy in this movie. Like, every fight that he was in, if he didn't have the healing factor, he would have just died. Like, there was no... When he was fighting the bad guys, it wasn't exciting at all. The action was just really boring and dull. And it was like the kind of action you could see in any action movie out today. It just wasn't... It wasn't interestingly shot or choreographed. And again, like Devin said, even the city that this was filmed in felt more like a movie set rather than an actual city. It was too clean and neat looking. And there were references to the comics, but it went nowhere. They served no real purpose, seemingly other than fan service if you read the comics or not. And Jesus Christ. The pacing of this movie was so fucking terrible. This movie was a slog to sit through. It got to the point where my eyes started to glaze over with how long this movie was taking to get through everything. The fact that he doesn't become the Crow until the last act of the movie was fucking insane to me. Like, why would you? It'd be like watching a Batman movie where he doesn't wear the actual Batman costume until the last act of the movie. Like, you just wouldn't want to see that. That's not a Crow movie. My final thoughts on this movie is this was not a love letter to Brandon Lee or the legacy of the Crow. This was a cheap cash grab. And it further proves my point that Hollywood is artistically and creatively bankrupt. And this is the best they can do is remake a movie from 30 years ago. Like, just absolute fucking garbage. Just go watch the original or read the comics. Maybe some of the sequels are good depending on what you like, but just not this one. This movie fucking sucked. Thankfully, Devin and I saw it for free, so we didn't have to actually spend any money on it because this thing fucking sucked. It's absolutely terrible.
And 0 out of 10. And what was the thing you said about Rupert Sanders?
Oh,
Of him not
I-
getting the romance?
I had said to Devin, it makes sense that Rupert Sanders wouldn't understand what true love is like, considering Rupert Sanders cheated on his wife. So I really don't know what I was.
Wow.
Fuck Rupert Sanders, dude.
There
Just
we go.
I mean, for real.
I'm just gonna.
I would say I would.
Let's just stop the review for a sec. Give that a slow clap.
Yeah.
I think that deserves a
I would.
slow clap.
Thank you.
Let's go.
I was gonna say Rupert
No,
Sanders ruined.
Especially a little bit of a deterrence. Rupert Sanders clapped back against the haters, ladies and gents.
Did he?
He said to the people that were shitting on his movie, I think a lot of people are very active online and not so active in life. Get out and do something and have less time throwing stones. Here's an idea. How about you make a good fucking movie, shit?
I was gonna say
Yes.
Rupert Sanders has ruined not one but 2 reboots.
Yes.
Can we drop
This
this
is because-
insult? Because it's getting really fucking old now. This
Because-
stupid ass insult that anybody who insults you online must be some kind of basement dwelling cretin. No, some of them are just normal people who just don't fucking like you.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
Jesus.
You know,
I'm not in
You
the
know,
basement.
before-
Here, there's a window right here. I'm not in my basement. I'm on the second floor. Stuck it.
You know what? Before I get to you, Austin, I was gonna give him a chance because I wanted to see King Richard because I heard that was really good. After that comment, guess what, Rupert? I would like to personally welcome you to the movie graveyard. Austin, go ahead.
All right. I hope you're all ready for my legendarily long review. That's definitely not going to take only a couple minutes. Look, I watched the original Crow movie before I saw this one, and you know what? It was good. It had a lot of personality to it. It shot well. I liked the characters, and you know, and then I heard all the bad things about this movie, and I'm thinking, okay, you know what? Maybe I'll give it a chance. You know, I'm not going to pay to see it. Well, what did I think? Well, I could talk about how boring it is. I could talk about the white horse. I could talk about a really stupid montage. I could talk about the really bad performances. I could talk about the supposedly good soundtrack everybody's raving about, which, by the way, I don't know what soundtrack you're talking about because the soundtrack was ass. I could talk about the really bad, confusing ending that would take me becoming Megamind to fully understand what the fuck happened. I could talk about everything that's bad about this movie, but I'm not going to. You want to know why? They put zero effort into this movie, so why should I put any effort into reviewing this? This movie might genuinely be the worst film I've seen in 2024. At least American Society of Magical Negroes had David Alan Grier. It had a couple decent scenes here and there and a couple decent ideas. This movie had nothing. Don't watch it. Fuck you. Fuck this movie. Fuck Colonel Rupert Sanders, whatever his fucking name is. Fuck Lionsgate. Fuck you, Devin, for making me watch this shit. And for pushing this review. 0 out of 10.
I didn't push for this review.
Somebody did. And I bought your head.
Yeah, before we get to you, Rob, I did make a mistake. Rupert Sanders did not direct King Richard, but one of the people that wrote this movie wrote it. So, Rob, floor is yours.
All right then. Don't worry, I will be able to tear apart Rupert Sanders too, because not just for this, but for the other thing that he made, the other piece of shit movie he made. But we'll get to that soon. So, Coming from someone who has limited knowledge of The Crow outside of the original film, which is amazing, by the way, I will still say this. Fuck this movie. I mean, talk about a movie that is dead on arrival, pun intended. Not one thing worked in this movie. And this is the second time Rupert Sanders has ruined a reboot. Like, first we got the terrible live action Ghost in the Shell remake, and now we got this. Honestly, there's really no negative, so I'm just going to jump right into there's no positives in this. I'm just going to jump into the negatives. First of all, the acting is awful. Not one actor gave a rat's ass about their performance. Even Bill Skarsgard, who is usually good in other movies, he sounds like he doesn't want to be there. In fact, you can even hear his voice crack at times, which sounds like he's experiencing puberty for a second time. Same, and FKA Twigs, I'm just going to call her Twigs. What a stupid name, but she just sounds so bored to be here. And not to mention, she cannot sing for shit. So, sorry, not sorry. Speaking of these two actors, neither one of them have any chemistry. You don't buy that they're in love one bit. Now, even when you watch the first 30 minutes of the film, it feels nothing like a Crow film. In fact, no joke, when me and my brother went to see this yesterday, I was honestly, if the title hadn't told me that I was watching The Crow, I would assume that I had just walked into some shitty movie I assumed I walked into the wrong theater, because it looks like I was watching a mixture between a shitty horror film, a shitty action film, and a shitty romance film. I understand they want to dedicate the first 30 minutes to give the main lead some character development, so that way you care for them when the murder scene does end up happening, but it doesn't work. As I said, the main two leads just don't care about giving good performance here, and just look like they're just ready to get a paycheck. Not to mention, and plus, as I said, they have no chemistry with each other. So it just fails right out of the gate. Even after the murder scene, it just doesn't get any better. The CGI on the Crows were terrible. They look so fake and unconvincing. The pacing is abysmal. There are moments no one really cares about that just drags on for too long. I mean, I don't really care if Eric and Shelley are going camping with their friends or something. What kind of purpose does this serve? The cinematography is just so awkward. For some reason, I don't know why, but some reason there were so many unnecessary close-up shots. See how artsy I am? I guess the director loves close-up shots as much as the director of Battlefield Earth loves Dutch angle shots. The action scenes don't even look good. The fight choreography is so sloppy, and not to mention mixed with the terrible editing and Bill Skarsgard piss poor performance. There was one moment at the opera scene where Eric Draven is going up the stairs, guards are shooting at him, and it looks like he's just shimmying up the stairs. That's what it looks like as he was being shot at. The villain is honestly so forgettable, and he was just there because The Crow needs a final boss at the end. Speaking of the ending, I remember going on a rant about how the ending made absolutely no sense. That movie, when ending happened, this movie went from bad to awful to completely unwatchable. So you mean to tell me Shelley was only dead for a few days, making Eric's journey to avenge her death, which is 80% of the movie, mind you, completely meaningless? I was ready to step out of the theater at that moment, but I resisted to stay until the credits rolled, and once the credits rolled, I rushed out of the theater like the screen was on fire. However, if I had to point to the movie's biggest issue, is the fact that it is so boring. I didn't give a shit about the story and the characters, and I was just so bored out of my mind. Overall, whether you're a fan of The Crow or not, this film is just a complete failure on all fronts. Nothing worked. Not one thing. In fact, as soon as I got out of the theater and I texted these guys, I pretty much said in that, that I wanted to apologize to some of the other bad films that I've seen this year. Trap, Despicable Me 4, Garfield, Beekeeper, the Sandy Cheeks movie, Borderlands, and you know what? I'll even go a step further. Even the American Society of Magical Negroes. I'm not exaggerating when I say this is the worst film I've seen all year. Do not watch this movie under any cost. Now I am done talking about this garbage, and now it's time for me to move on with my life. 0 out of 10.
Oh yeah. Rome.
So the original Crow movies, in my opinion, it's a masterpiece. It's one of the greatest movies of all time, in my opinion. I really love everything about that movie, the performances, the writing, the emotional journey that Draven goes through. It's a movie about victims getting vengeance and creating taking a wrong and making it a right, and it's a very simple movie, but just the emotional journey. It's so emotional journey, but also very beautiful shot. I mean, that's one of my favorite scenes of that movie is Eric Draven playing the electric guitar, and you get that 1 minute instrumental beat where it's nothing but sad, pain, and rage. It just, that whole movie is nothing but an emotional story from beginning to end, and there's a payoff in that movie. Going into this movie, I want to at least give this a chance, go with an open mind, really try to find something about this movie to like. I knew it was not going to measure up to anything that the original was, but just give me something. This movie gives you nothing. It's just a movie that's just poorly shot, looked like it was rushed. Everything looked like it was just shot one shot, into the next scene, onto the next scene. Kind of like The Room, but just 10 times worse. At least The Room's laughable. This is just really frustrating, and just, especially being a fan of the original, you're gonna hate watching this movie so much. You're gonna have to go back and rewatch the original to forget this movie. Obviously the casting was bad. The dialogue was horrible, very cringy. A lot of like dialogue stuff that just didn't make any sense. Have you ever loved anyone before? You're a broken man, or just these one-liners that are just so awful and just so poorly written. You're just like, what the fuck? And then you have a villain that you don't know if he's a demon or a vampire or what he is. This movie just focuses more on trying to explain everything to you about the Crow and the whole world that this is trying to build, that doesn't really build to anything. And it's just, we got to give you more information about this, more information about that. Oh, we have a character who's called Kronos from the Guyver anime show. Or Cogliostro, because he reminded me of Cogliostro, who's kind of navigating Eric in this movie. By the way, this Eric's not called Eric Draven. He's just called Eric. He's never mentioned Draven, not once in the movie. So this whole movie is just garbage from beginning to end. It's a classic tale of like, this is why you don't do remakes on masterpiece movies or great movies. And it's a classic case of, fuck you Hollywood, fuck you writers, fuck you Rupert Sanders, go sit in a corner and shut the fuck up. If you still have a career left, if I were you, I would shut up and hide. Go hide somewhere, just like Rian Johnson did after The Last Jedi. Just go hide somewhere. Don't speak ever again. Just wait a year or two later after it all blows over and try to find a rebound movie or whatever it is you do next, because you should not be talking about or defending this movie at all, because it's a big FU to the fans who love the original. It's a big FU to the people who are really like emotionally invested in the original movie. It's a big FU to James O'Barr. It's a big FU to a lot of people who worked in the original movie. And the fact that this was a quick, money grab type movie is just, it's disgusting. And just, there's a lot of other awful movies out there that needs a remake. Not this movie, not this franchise, not the series. Just leave The Crow alone. It's a fucking piece of shit movie from beginning to end. And there's nothing to like about this movie. There's nothing. There's not even the music score, not the action scenes. All the action scenes look like they were one shot. Very sloppy. Very just save yourself the time and money to go watch Wolverine, Deadpool. Go watch Strange Darling. Go watch something that's worth your time. Whether it's going to be on streaming service in the future or like just anything. Go watch something else besides this movie. To me, this is one of the worst movies of the year. Might be one of the worst movies I've seen in the last 10 years. I've never been so angry at a movie in a long time. Maybe since Rob Zombie's The Monsters, because that's also another franchise series that I loved growing up, and just seeing how that was destroyed. And fuck you, Lionsgate. Fuck you, Rupert Sanders. Fuck you, anybody else who's behind this movie. Fuck you to all the writers. And I hope you all burn. You all deserve it. I hope you all burn in hell, like the great Samuel Jackson said. Don't wish any ill will to you guys. I just hope your careers are over after this movie. Like, don't do a damn thing in Hollywood again. My score is a 0 out of 10. I would love to say it's a fuck you out of 10. Go watch something better than this pile of shit.
John?
Yay. Me time. Hold on. I'm texting somebody. Sorry. Anyway, sorry about that, ladies and gents. Now it's my time to rip this fucking piece of shit movie a new one. So, The Crow, 2024. Why? Just fucking why? Now, I'm just going to say this. I'm not a believer in many conspiracy theories. I believe in some, but not any of the stupid or crazy ones like flat Earth or faking the moon landing. But a conspiracy theory that is the only way I can make sense of this fucking movie. So hear me out. Just hear me out. My theory is that Rupert Sanders is actually a super duper secret Crow Wicked Prayer fan and hates that everyone shits on it. So he went out of his way to make the worst possible Crow movie to make Wicked Prayer actually look decent by comparison. That's the only way this movie actually makes any fucking sense. But let's just get through this shit fest as quick as possible. Unfortunately, I have a lot to say about this fucking train wreck. I'm not gonna go the easy way out like Austin did. I'm gonna say my fucking piece, especially after that basement dwelling comment, Rupert. Fucking, if your name is Rupert, you have no balls to fucking say shit about anybody. Your name is fucking Rupert. Shut the fuck up, Rupert. All right. Anyway, so as many have said in this review, the acting was fucking shit. Bill Skarsgard was phoning it in and badly. He knew this shit was shit. He slept through his fucking performance, and even his Swedish accent was slipping in and out. He was trying to sound so tough and cool, yet it just sounded like he was fucking constipated. This was a nice, juicy paycheck for him, and that's it. Thank every god in the known fucking universe for Nosferatu. And if that movie somehow sucks, I'm taking a bath with a fucking toaster. Talia Debret Barnett, I refuse to call her by her dumbass stage name, can't sing and can't act. She refuses to keep her mouth shut and can't invoke an emotion to save her life. Also, get some goddamn braces. Jesus Christ. Danny Houston is maybe mid at best. He's kind of cool, but he's not really giving an actual performance. He's not scary or threatening at all. The character is just kind of a cool idea, but it never goes anywhere and is just whatever. Everyone else is either boring or overacting to the point of being hilarious. Honestly, I don't know the actors, and probably for good reason, too. The pacing is fucking horrendous. It has got to be the most boring fucking movie I've seen all year. And I've seen a lot of boring shit this year. Batman Cape Crusader, I'm looking at you. It takes so fucking long to see Eric and Shelley get together, then get murdered, and then see Eric actually become the fucking Crow. You know, that thing that's in the fucking title of the fucking movie. It takes an hour, which we will get to later, and it feels like 7. It moves at a snail's pace. No. I wouldn't even say that's an insult to snails. Snails move faster than this movie. Turtles move faster than this movie. Fucking sloths move faster than this goddamn movie. And that's the slowest creature on planet Earth. And yes, I looked that up just to back up that fucking comment. The cinematography is fine, but there's way too many close-ups. It's very weird and disorienting and not in a good way. There's a couple good shots here and there, though. Outside of that, dog shit. Speaking of dog shit, the CGI, it's fucking horrendous. Surprise, surprise, just like everything else in this fucking shit fest of a fucking movie. There isn't a lot of it in this movie, but when it's used, it looks like shit. Whether it's the crows or the digital blood squibs. Jesus Christ, it's bad. Makes the fucking Disney Plus Marvel shows look decent by comparison. The costume design and makeup was also trash. It looks like what 50-year-olds think Gen Z kids wear and tries to cater to them, but fails fucking miserably and comes off as laughable. Like that pink coat Eric was wearing. Bro looked like he fucking skinned a Muppet. I don't mind the tattoos, even the eye titty, but it just came off as trying too hard. Not a strike against the movie, not even a nitpick, just a weird aesthetic choice that didn't really matter in the long run. And the crow makeup, they barely fucking tried. It looks like they just saw the It makeup on Pennywise and was like, yeah, he played him before. Let's just do it black and like call it a fucking day. Like what? It's like Brandon Lee's makeup was iconic for a reason. Why not try to reinvent what came before and make it Skarsgard's own look with the entire clown makeup? Nah, just give him some lines from his eyes to his mouth, and that's it. So goddamn lazy. Now we get to the story. Well, what little of it there actually is. The two biggest problems that can be attributed to this movie. It sucks as a movie. So all you fuckers, oh, you're just comparing it to the original. No, it just sucks as its own fucking movie. So shut the fuck up and let daddy speak, all right? And on top of that, it doesn't understand the Crow as a character nor as a story. The reason I was so apprehensive to hate this fucking movie was because I didn't want the idea of Brandon Lee in the original film to overshadow this movie. I try to give all things a chance. I wanted to judge it as its own movie. Luckily, or maybe unluckily, it just fucking sucks as a movie in and of itself, as I said. They try to do things different from the original, but it just doesn't work. Like, they show the relationship with Eric and Shelley more in this version, yet it doesn't fucking work because the actors have no fucking chemistry whatsoever. They fall in love, like, immediately, like faster than a Disney princess movie, and they know each other for what? A week? I understand they wanted to build them up and make us care about them, but it just doesn't work because of the lack of and piss poor writing, and it ironically is being rushed despite the movie being so fucking slow. Just have them already be together so you can get to the stuff people want to see. We don't have to see their entire relationship unfold on screen because, you know, that's not what we signed up to see, as Alex mentioned. Especially, as I said, when the execution is terrible and incredibly rushed. Then they get killed like 40 minutes into this fucking movie, and it's like, finally, they fucking die. He then gets resurrected, and then they like dilly-dally with him like investigating shit and not actually doing anything Crow-related. In fact, his actual fucking Crow, like the familiar, doesn't do anything throughout this movie and is pointless. They do this whole rigmarole with him trying to find out who the guy who did this to them was, and they do not make it interesting in the slightest. This is supposed to be an action movie, and we get no action. And it's another, I think, 20 minutes, half an hour, before he actually starts getting his vengeance, him starting to do shit. But it's hilarious because he's being such a fucking pussy about it. He gets shot and stabbed and acts like a total fucking wimp. Like he screams like a fucking sissy on more than one occasion. This is your big action hero who screams ouchies when he gets shot despite being fucking invincible? What the fuck? Then they have this reveal of Shelley being the person who murdered somebody, which is more of a, that's it.
What a twist!
Than some huge fucking revelation twist they probably wrote it as. The action towards the end is kind of cool, but considering I am fully checked out of this fucking movie with all the bullshit I had to be put through, it did not fucking matter. It had some cool scenes during the action, like him shooting a guy behind him by shooting through his own chest and then getting stabbed through the heart and using his sword to stab someone in the eye. In a better movie, that would have been a terrific audience reaction, but here, no one cared. Eventually, the movie ends with an ending that makes no fucking sense, and I will get to that soon. So, anyway, recap. The movie features a character we don't care about, falling in love way too quickly with someone else we don't care about, have a relationship for a week we don't buy, not getting out of the fucking city when people are after one of said characters, forgot to mention that, by the way, also fucking stupid, getting killed, he comes back, is not getting his vengeance for who he cares about until he fucks up and gets killed again while acting like a fucking pussy. He sells his soul so that she can live, goes on a rushed vengeance that lasts for what? Maybe 10, 15, possibly 20 minutes, and then it ends. It's filled with boring plot points and characters we don't give a fuck about. It's just so fucking horribly written. And but wait, there's more. Speaking of, let's get on to that now, shall we? Now, I am aware that any comparisons to the original are frivolous because the original is the fucking original, one of the biggest movies of the 90s and a huge hit despite Brandon Lee's death. However, I mean more so towards the character and the story it's trying to tell. I know everyone else has talked about this already, but fuck it, I need to talk about it too because people, mainly executives, need to understand why this is so infuriating. James O'Barr made the comic when he was grieving the loss of his girlfriend when she was hit by a drunk driver, yet for some reason they make the characters in this movie fucking drug addicts. Why? What was the narrative point of this? That would be like, I don't know, the hero of your story, like maybe using the Iron Giant as a weapon. Oh wait, Ready Player One. The only way I could have seen it working is if they get clean by a certain point in the movie. Then that is like this new beginning for them in addition to this relationship. But that would have actually been maybe creative. And clearly, that's not what the writers nor Rupert was fucking going for. The original film, bro wakes up, goes to his apartment, figures out what happened, and then just starts fucking mowing down people. Boom. Fucking easy. I understand that the comic had more time to develop this since the original comic went on for like 10 fucking years. But this is a movie. People will give you 2 to 3 hours tops. You have to move this shit along. You know, like, here they set up this fucking rich cult with this devil guy. Something happens with video evidence. She then gets caught by police. She goes to rehab, meets Eric. They escape. Don't go to the other fucking city or anything because that would actually be fucking smart. And then there's this whole fucking organized crime ring that wants them dead. And why? Why the fuck are we doing this? The original comic and even the movie, it has no destiny, no grander scheme, nothing. Degenerates just came in and fucking killed them. Because you know what? That fucking happens a lot too, unfortunately. Sometimes people just fucking die because other people fucking suck. And the whole point of the story was something bad happened, and the love you have for someone else is so powerful, you need to right that wrong before you pass on. That's it. Simple, easy, digestible. Hell, even in the original John Wick, which this is so desperately trying to rip off, a guy took his car, killed his dog, and boom, there you go. He goes after them. I do understand that people want some meat on the bones, but I feel like here it was making up for the fact that they wrote these characters like complete fucking dog shit and needed to add more of this and that to make it seem grander than it actually is, when it just isn't. Sometimes you can just have a simple story with effectively written characters, a well-written story, and an engaging film. Sometimes simple works, and it worked for the original, and your overly complicated bullshit doesn't fucking work here. Here, it misunderstands everything that made the original so good to begin with, both the comic and the film. First, in terms of the film, they use Eric and Shelley, which is fucking wrong immediately out of the gate. Then they throw away Obar's pain and grief away by making your heroes use these things that essentially caused him to go through this entire journey in the first place. They make this story overly complicated and something grander than what it actually needs to be, and it becomes careless, lost, and muddled as a result. It doesn't understand the ideas, the concepts, and themes that made Obar's creation so engaging to begin with. Lastly, because I'm not fucking done yet, is the fucking ending that makes no goddamn sense. I feel like you need to have 20 PhDs to figure out this fucking ending. So, Eric succeeds with getting his vengeance. Terribly, but he eventually succeeds. He meets Shelly in that limbo sort of place, which, not gonna lie, was a kind of cool setting. They have a reunion, and she goes back to the land of the living, and he has to stay behind because he sold his soul or whatever. But then she goes back, and it's the day that they were killed, and you see Eric's dead body next to her. Okay. So you're telling me half of this fucking movie didn't happen. Then what was the point of getting his fucking vengeance? Is she still gonna have to deal with all of the fucking like cult people since apparently they time traveled back 3 days? Or did some type of medical miracle happen and she came back to life days after this happened? Is she fucking Jesus now? The more I think about this, the less sense it makes. Is the Crow a ghost now? Does he no longer have a physical body? Like, even then, that doesn't explain them time traveling back 3 days. Like, what the fuck? It must have happened somehow, considering the tattoo is completed now. Cry now, cry later. I cannot understand what is happening with this fucking ending, and this is just the cherry on top of the shit sundae. This movie is...
What's going on?
This movie is fucking garbage. It's a movie that on its own, remember, on its own, is bad. Not just comparing it to the original. On its own, it's fucking bad. Completely ignoring the disrespect to Obar's creation and to Lee's legacy, which it also manages to do. It had 2 cool action moves. The cinematography was maybe tolerable and a kind of cool limbo setting. But that's it. The actors are terrible. The writing makes no sense. The pacing is horrendous. The music is shit. The CGI is laughable at best. The actual Crow serves no fucking point in the overall plot, and it is completely disrespectful to everything Obar did with his character and what Lee did with the film. This movie is the worst I've seen this year, and I have a strong feeling it will fucking stay that way. Now, if in the original film it can't rain all the time, then this movie is a fucking typhoon. With that, I give it a 0.5 out of 10. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
No offense, John, that's still way too high for this.
Honestly,
Mark?
after my rant, I might change it to a fucking 0 because, like, now I'm angry. Now I'm really fucking angry. But even then, I also want to say this to Rupert Sanders. Now, not only did the guy fucking cheat on his wife, but the person he cheated on his wife with eventually came out as gay. So do with that information as you will.
Hold on, Mark, before you take us home like a badass, I gotta play this clip.
Now comes the part where we throw our heads back and laugh. Ready?
Ready!
I need to blow my nose.
All right, Mark.
Snot. Woo, sorry about that. Anyway, Mark, you have the floor now, sir.
Take us home.
All right, my man. Fuck this movie. That's it. That's the review. They didn't put any effort into this, so I'm not putting any effort into my review to explain why this is such a massive piece of shit. So, fuck this movie. Actually, you know what? It's going to bother me even more if I don't. So, forget the KY jelly because I'm going in dry. You know, when I first heard they were doing this, I was cautiously optimistic, because the original is one of my favorite and most beloved films. You know, I mean, of course, Brandon Lee died, but you know, having watched it enough and having rewatched it twice, you know, just the past few days alone, I can honestly say this is a great, even aside from Brandon Lee's tragic death, this is just a great movie. This is a fantastic movie. Everything from the very economical storytelling. I mean, this movie tells a better love story in the first 5 fucking minutes. 5 fucking minutes than this movie does in, dear God, an hour in the entire fucking runtime of the original movie. But at the same time, you had one of the best young actors of our day lined up to play the lead, namely Bill Skarsgard. So I decided, you know, I would give it a fair chance. Even when I saw the first look at the character, with the stupid ass eye titty and all, I decided I would still, despite the fact that I genuinely hated it, eye titty and all, I decided that, you know, styles change, whatever, you know, so maybe this will be a Gen Z style, The Crow, whatever. As long as it's true to the character, who cares how he looks, right? So I was still down to give it a fair chance. Then I heard they were doing Eric Draven again, despite the fact that there had been some 15 fucking characters who had been the Crow. So, of course, I hated that. And I do hate that, but whatever. When I heard that it was a romance for the first half of the film, and that he was only the Crow in the second half, I reasoned that, well, obviously they just wanted to develop the romance more. So I was determined to still be fair to it. Then I saw it. Wow. If Rupert Sanders wanted to take a colossal dump on one of the most beloved films from my generation, because this came out the year after I graduated high school. This came out 30 years ago, 1994. And we all just fucking loved this film. Even aside from the fact that, you know, it cost Brandon Lee his life. It was beloved, loved by us, right? And plus, a lot of it was filmed in Wilmington, right here in North Carolina. Right, Rob? So, I mean, it's just felt kind of special to us. But, you know, if he wanted to take a colossal dump on one of the most beloved films of my generation, he should have done so privately at home. He didn't have to do it so in front of the whole fucking world so that we all had to fucking smell it. This film is an assault on the senses. Its offensively malodorous stench reeks from the highest heaven to the deepest circle of hell, which is exactly where this shit is headed, by the way. Spoiler alert, to the 10th circle of fucking hell. I'll be honest, and I did expect the film to be bad. I was still determined to give it a chance, but I still did honestly expect this to be bad. But I didn't expect it to be complete shit. I really didn't expect it to be so fucking offensively boring, mind-numbingly, gruesomely boring. Dear fucking God. The leads, Bill Skarsgård as Eric and FKA Twigs as Shelley, had zero chemistry. None. Nada. Even Bill Skarsgård came across as flat and uninterested the whole goddamn film, as if we were just bored to be there. He just phoned it in, as my dude said up here. And that's aside from the fact that, you know, that he leaves rehab to be with her because he got his dick wet, I guess, because fuck rehab, I guess, you know. I mean, as if it weren't bad enough, they shot all over one of the most beautiful scenes of the original by making them drug addicts. They don't even have them see it through to the end. I mean, maybe it could have worked as some kind of character development if they had them see it through, and maybe that's why they fell in love, because they helped each other get off drugs. But, you know, of course, fuck that. Hey, because fuck it. Hey, all you need is love, right, kids? Yeah, fuck this movie. That's not how life works. And even though they wanted to develop their relationship better and took their sweet time doing so, all they did was fucking
Uh,
No, Rupert got him. Rupert got him.
Yeah, Rupert,
Rupert
he
got Mark. Oh God.
He's like
He got shut down by Rupert Sanders.
I was gonna say, if Rupert Sanders is like, if I'm going into the 10 circle of hell, I'm taking you with me.
Don't worry. Anyone who's watching, Mark will be back. It's just either technical difficulties, or he slammed his computer, or he slammed his computer down in anger.
So how about them Jets?
Awesome. What was something you said about slots.net?
Oh yeah. So the most entertaining thing about watching this movie was the sluts.net little advertisements throughout where you could earn real money by playing slots.
Also,
All right.
the guy who leaked the movie out there, you're
Back.
the real MVP.
All right, Mark is back.
You know what? But like as I was saying before, Rupert Sanders sicked his fucking Russian hackers on me and shit, fucker. Even though they wanted to develop the relationship better and took their sweet fucking time doing so, all they did was ruin it, because all they succeeded in doing was make them look like fucking idiots who fall in love after one crazy whirlwind weekend. Seriously, how long were these guys together? Because it only looked like just a few days for me. It looked like maybe a couple days, 2-3 days, a week or two, maybe at the very most, And these two are supposed to be soulmates. This is not love. They come across more like kids with a crush than adults in a serious relationship. I mean, in the original, you could see the wedding dress in the back at the murder scene. You could tell, obviously, they were about to get married. They were planning on getting married. They were very serious about each other. These people are not serious about each other. They're fucking doing drugs together, drinking, and jumping on the fucking bed. That's not serious. That's just a fucking people having a good fucking time. That's it. This is puppy love at the best. A schoolyard crush at the worst. Just a weekend fling at the worst. That's it. I mean, they don't even fucking know each other. He's so fucking clueless. He doesn't know a goddamn girlfriend. He's so fucking clueless about his little girlfriend that He's so fucking clueless about his girlfriend that he has to spend the entire unimaginative, prosaic, dry, tediously slow middle act investigating who she is, like as if he were the goddamn Hardy Boys or one of the fucking Scooby-Doo gang. There's hardly any action there. Where there is kind of boring and stupid. And because he doesn't come across as a badass like Eric Draven did, he just come across as just like some normal guy. That's it. Who can't even really fight that way. By the way, this is her fault, because she did something bad. Didn't tell him about it because of course, people who are in love, in true love, of course, don't tell each other things about themselves like that, So Jesus Christ, they're hardly together before they are killed. What they did show is trite, vapid, and laughably dumb, and the whole thing moves so slow you're cheering when they finally get fucking killed. And speaking of which, I get why Sanders didn't want to kill them with guns. That's fine. Even though they did have him shot several freaking times. I mean, many, a whole lot of fucking times in this movie. And even though Chaz Strahelski did guns, who was the stuntman on the fucking original Crow, has done guns in four fucking John Wick movies in a row very safely. But what the fuck ever. Whatever. I get it. So he doesn't want to do that. But dear sweet baby Jesus, as my son said, can we get something more violent and dramatic than a plastic bag and some elbow grease? That's it. It's just as much ultra violence as this film has, especially in the last 20 minutes, there wasn't the least excuse for making their deaths so anticlimactic, especially when you've already royally fucked up the development of their relationship and dragged us through 40 minutes of this tedious, tiring relationship. And now, since we've already talked about the mindless second act, when he finds out that his supposedly true love did bad shit that get themselves killed, then he decides, that he's going to sacrifice his life for this girl he knew for the weekend. Sacrifice not his life, but his actual soul for this girl he knew for the weekend. More on that later. And what we found out by the last 20 minutes, he's not to the last 20 minutes of the freaking film that he actually finally becomes the Crow, that he finally puts on the makeup, and all of a sudden he knows how to fight now for something, because I guess makeup is their special power or something. Maybe it's like fucking Samson's hair or something in the Bible, what the hell ever. I guess that's his fucking kryptonite, his makeup shit. So, and after that, and you finally get, there's a couple of good action scenes. I will say there's a couple of good things. There's a couple of good action scenes. When John has already talked about one when he stabbed the guy in the eye, and there's one right before then. I forget what it was, but other than that, that's about it. I mean, it's like he's shimmying like freaking Shaquille O'Neal in the commercial when he's getting shot, on the stairs. But it's just it makes absolutely no sense. I mean, the villain, Danny Houston, he's not developed in the slightest. It's his powers are not explained at all. It's not explained how he's doing what he's doing. What he's doing, is he just using the power of suggestion? Is he getting into their mind controlling? What the heck is it? I mean, where did he get this power? What is it? I mean, who knows? I thought he was going to turn out to be the devil or something, for crying out loud. And then we get to the end and we find out that bringing her back, that saving her, rather than her going to heaven, which you would think she's going to some kind of heaven or something, rather than going to hell. No, she just gets brought back to life. And how does that work? Does that erase everything he did? Does everything stay the same except that? Because I guess maybe so, because he was doing it when he was the Crow. But I don't know. I don't know how that's supposed to work. Because how? This whole film just makes no sense. It makes no sense. It's trite. It's boring. And the best part of it is when the credits roll, because that means it's finally over, putting you out of your plane. This is one of the worst, if not the worst, movies I've seen this year. This is, for me, what my boy Rob knows our pain, what Pinocchio, and that's what I call it, Pinocchio, because was last year. What Disney's Pinocchio remake was last year.
Actually, that was 2 years ago.
2 years ago, whatever. Yeah, sorry, 2 years ago, because that was just offensively bad.
That was bad.
Exactly, that was awful. That was just offensively bad. Not only was it a bad movie, and the worst thing about this is, even if they had not done Eric Draven, this still would have been a shit movie. I'm just mad that it was Eric Draven, because now it kind of screws that up too. But that makes it offensive that it was Eric Draven. But even if it weren't Eric Draven, this still would have been a bad movie. This would not have worked. I mean, Rupert Sanders just does not understand what makes The Crow special. So, I mean, the original was far more economical with its storytelling. They established their relationship with the first 5 minutes. You get the point through the eyes of Shelley, not Shelley, but Sarah, the kid, Rochelle Davis's character, Sarah, who does a fantastic job, and through also through Ernie Hudson's character, Sergeant Albrecht. One of the most relatable characters, one of the most relatable actors of his day, of that back in those times. So, but everything that one did right, this one did wrong. That one summed up the relationship nice and quick, got straight into the action, did not waste time. And the way he finds out his powers is, the way he's finding out his powers, very simple and elegant. He goes back to their apartment. He does a little swinging thing on the broken window, and he sees that his hands are cut, and he sees them healed automatically. Boom. That's it. He starts having flashbacks, and that's how we learned it. So that's it. No words, no nothing, no exposition. Whereas, as my son and I were talking yesterday, this film is all exposition. It's all exposition. Dear God, it's one exposition scene, that one exposition dump after another. And I'm done dumping on this piece of shit and put this thing in this 10 circle of hell because I never intend on thinking about it again. This film is a 0 out of 10. It's only a half star on Letterboxd because I don't want to put 0 stars because then it looks like I'm just not giving it a rating instead of giving it 0 stars, which I wish you could do. But this is actually 0 out of 10. Fuck this movie.
Mark, I
And,
did the same thing you did. I didn't want to put any
Yeah.
stars on the review, but I had to just because I don't want somebody to think the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll say this: at least we know what our worst of the year is going to be.
Absolutely,
Easily.
fucking literally.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
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 And I
Fuck
said,
you,
and
Rupert.
I said this in the comments. I said, I don't know if anybody of you watch Cell Spec. She's an animation critic, but when she did a review of Norm in the North, she said it doesn't even deserve to be on a worst of the year list. It deserves to be forgotten by the sands of time and instantly erased from everyone's resume. You know.
Preach. And I do want to pull up some comments. Homeboy is just hate watching at this point.
True.
This geek informant guys loves his own voice.
I do. I think it's a very nice voice. That's why I do love to filibuster and talk so much. So, yes, you are correct in that aspect. But I think the others also love the sound of my own voice when I am talking complete garbage about a shitty fucking movie that Rupert won't take credit for because he's a fucking nonce. Anyway.
And Alex, he didn't wear white makeup in the comics.
James O'Barr said he does. What more do you want?
Yeah, and
Also,
we're not
I was
talking
I was
about the
technically
comics.
talking about the movie. Like the movie is because I mean I hate to like shit on, but the thing is, the fucking Crow movie is more iconic than the comic at this point.
Oh, absolutely.
But like even then, like boom, there we got the comic reader fucking dunking on your ass. Well, number one. Number two, I personally was talking about the movie because Eric Draven was made for the film.
Movie, yeah.
Yeah, and Brandon Lee's look was the iconic part. That's the iconic part I was talking about. So, Mr. Troll, suck all of our dicks, please, in a circle, and then we will come on your dirty little face. Bye-bye.
And when you watch the original, you also, like Alex was saying, like you notice a lot of the Easter eggs and the details from the comics. Like I never read the comics. What I know from it is stuff he explained to me and videos I watched where, like, if you look closely, like in the comics, you see he's got the bullets in his hair. He's got the scar across his nose.
Yeah.
That was all in the comic.
Yeah.
I really want to read. I want to read every comic, and considering there's like 700 of them, I'll be like, all right, I'm locking myself in a closet for like a week and reading everything.
By the way, I also want to bring this up. Like I said, like I said during my review, I saw this with Ben, and honestly, after he was pissed at me. He was super pissed to the point where he's like, you know what? For making me sit through this garbage, as punishment. Your punishment is Madam Web, and I said, Madam Web feels like a breath of fresh air compared to this garbage.
As someone who has seen both, Madam Web is a genuinely better movie.
Well,
Agreed.
the thing with this movie is that it misses the themes. Like it isn't just about the revenge. It's about it isn't just about the revenge. It's about Eric's love for Shelley. I mean, in the foreword to this graphic novel, because I have the comic right here. In the foreword, James O'Barr wrote, "No one ever really dies as long as they are loved, and I know that somewhere Shelley is smiling on me." Like, it's equal parts of those things. This movie doesn't seem to understand either, though.
No, it doesn't. Exactly. It's just like it's so focused on the vengeance part that it just like forgets everything, and but it's like it's almost like an identity crisis a little bit when you think about it, because it's like, okay, they're so about the vengeance, but that's like rushed in the last like 20 minutes of the movie, and yet it's almost nothing about like the love story in terms of the core of the movie on why he becomes the Crow and why that works. Yet the fucking romance makes up for like 45 minutes of the movie. So it's like, what are you trying to say here? It's like butting heads on what you're showing versus what you're trying to tell. So it's like, it's weird. It's weird.
You know what? I wish to say something. It's not even about the makeup for me. It's just about the fact that for that whole entire second act, he was just he wasn't even really the Crow, and it's not even about
He
the
was
main
a guy.
He's
He's
just
a
a guy, exactly. And I get that they probably want to have him, figuring out his powers, but he doesn't progress at all. And, and then he just loses powers because what? He started to doubt because, which is a normal thing after you find out that someone you thought you loved had really done some shit and just not told you about it. That really is what got you both killed. So, I mean.
But he kept going back and forth on it. He either couldn't love her or he couldn't not love her. He couldn't pick which one he wanted to feel.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Because
that's what happens when you have a shitty director with a shitty script.
Like I said, it was just a weekend romance. It wasn't even a real love.
Yes.
We're supposed to buy that this is love.
I thought the thing is,
fell in love in 2 weeks.
I was expecting like a time jump or something, like, oh, we're gonna get like a time jump, like it's like, oh, cuts to like they're gonna like go away together and like they're gonna leave the city and it's gonna take place like 3 years. No, none of that. It's just like they don't leave, which is like the biggest fucking stupid. And people say Long Legs has plot holes. Fuck that. That is like a gigantic fucking plot hole in terms of not being able to leave the city. Like the fuck?
It also doesn't help that we don't know how long they were together before they died. Like, was it a couple days? Was it a week? So we have no way to acclimate ourselves to the story.
I would say like maybe a month at most. That's what I was thinking. Like,
so their bodies were sitting in their apartment for a month?
Yeah.
Should they be decomposed at this point?
Yes.
No, I mean, they were together for a month, as in like there was the relationship for the month. But like, but even then, like him being the Crow. Okay, so that's what. Him being the Crow. I would have said like maybe 3 or 4 days. So it's like, how does this work?
Because Brandon was dead in the original. Eric was dead for a whole year.
Exactly.
And we know it's a whole year because characters say that in the movie. Like we see their headstones and stuff. It doesn't make any sense logically.
And what you were saying, and the joke you made to me, what was this version of Eric's weakness, Alex?
Fucking indecisiveness, I guess.
Exactly.
Because they gave him in the comics, from what I know, he doesn't really have a weakness.
No, in the comics, Eric, the Crow isn't an actual bird in the comics. It's more like a supernatural entity. It talks to Eric in the comics. So it's not like an actual bird. It's more like a supernatural force. And that's what Eric really is like.
Isn't it kind of like a familiar, like kind of like a little bit more like that, but like even more supernatural?
No, because nobody else sees the Crow. Only Eric does.
Oh, interesting.
Like there's a scene in the comics where when Eric goes to confront Fun Boy, he's walking down the hallway of the apartment and an old lady opens her door and she sees Eric and he turns around and says, "Evening, ma'am," and he keeps on walking and there's no Crow near him or overhead.
And because they gave him a weakness in the movie where if he kills the Crow, Eric is weak, which I didn't mind that because that adds a little bit more conflict for the third act.
Well,
because like I was saying, if he just has plot armor throughout the whole movie, after a while, sure, it's cool, but after a while it can get kind of boring.
Well, he's never going to be in danger.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's like a Gary Stu. That's like what it is. Like like we don't care. Like at the end of the day, we just don't care about this character and we don't care what he's going through. If it's like, oh, he gets showered with bullets. Okay, yeah, it's kind of cool. But as you said, it's kind of cool. But like, yeah. And it's just like you just talking about the comic. One, it makes me want to read it more. And two, it's just like how much untapped shit from the fucking comic didn't even make it to the movie. I mean, unfortunately, the Skull Cowboy couldn't make it into the movie because Brandon Lee didn't film any scenes with Michael Berryman, so they like legit couldn't. So
yeah.
Fine.
They shot one scene which you can find on YouTube, but it's very quick, like 30-second shot of the two of them having some kind of dialogue.
It's a work print. Yeah, it's a work print from the original movie.
Yeah. By the way, has anyone seen has any of you seen any of the sequels? And even then, do you think it's better or worse than this?
It's complicated because each of the sequels is clearly just trying to bank on the success of the first one. Wicked Prayer with Edward Furlong is just fucking terrible, but that's
infamous with how bad it is.
Yes. City of Angels is decent, but it got ruined by the Weinsteins like reshooting and re-editing it, so it would be more similar to the Brandon Lee one, to the point where the director Tim Pope removed his name from the
Wow.
movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David S. Goyer was
Yeah,
pissed.
I
because
was
the second movie, and he was fucking pissed because he's like,
Yes.
he literally explained, like, David S. Goyer is hit or miss for me, but I'll give him this, where he's like, we went on forums and we like studied to make sure this was respectable to Brandon Lee and do its own thing, and it was taken from us by greedy executives who just wanted another Brandon Lee Crow, and that's a shame. And especially when you're talking about the comic, there's so much untapped lore that you could have done with another crow. There's so many comic book characters that like so many crows that you could have had. You could have made an original character. You could have done something like, and the thing is, I feel like, again, I don't mean to be mean to the original film, but like, I feel like the Crow is kind of niche a little bit. Like, it's not like it's not like Ghostbusters or like Superman or something like that. It's more of a niche kind of thing. So it's weird that they were like dependent on like this huge thing to remake this. Oh, we're gonna bank on this huge thing. When I don't think that the Crow is terribly huge. I could be wrong. Please tell me I'm wrong, because like I just don't think it is as big as these executives think it is. At least
It's so weird because like the Crow is a part of pop culture, but it's not Batman. It's not even like Hellboy. Like Hellboy is niche, but people know what Hellboy is. Whereas the Crow is just kind of like this weird like goth thing.
It's goth RoboCop.
More or less, yeah. If
That's good,
RoboCop
yeah.
wasn't a cop.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, that's the joke. Like the Crow is RoboCop for cops. I mean, both are excellent movies. I prefer RoboCop, but both are fucking absolutely excellent movies. So, yeah.
No problem, Rob. I'll see you in a bit.
All right then.
Yep, I'm gonna jump off too.
No,
All right, I'll see you too soon.
All right.
All right.
Gross.
Good meeting you, Alex. Bye, everybody.
You too, man.
All right, man. Take it easy, brother.
Corey M. Let's see. I do want to bring up a couple comics. Crow Salvation was a cross between Eric and a new person. Like, it feels like they tried copying, but that's my opinion.
It's the Crow Salvation is just complicated because they tried to they made that one PG-13 to market to like teenagers. So it's like, what the fuck?
And there is no guy as the Crow in the story. Eric is not the Crow.
That is correct.
I've never heard.
In the comics, he tells one of the gang members to say the Crow sends his regards. So he calls himself that in the comic, but in the movie, he's just Eric.
I think it's just like it's easy. Sorry to cut you off. That I think it's just easy because there's so many characters under that like Crow lineage that people call them the Crow. That it's like it's not technically right, but it's not like. But it's like it's easier to like say, oh, that's the Crow. Like
yeah.
But yes, it's technically Eric and not the Crow. You're right, but it's easier for all the other people to say that they are the Crow.
You're right, and you're wrong at the same time.
Yeah,
and even like I was scared this movie was going to end with Bill Skarsgard, and with Bill's monologuing, and he ends it with, "I am the Crow." Credits.
Or no, even worse, it's crowing time. That would have been bad.
I just don't understand why they didn't go the Sin City approach of just adapting the book, because it wouldn't be that difficult to adapt. Like, yeah, there are parts of the book that are very dreamy and atmospheric, but that wouldn't be too complicated if you have a talented director.
And Zach commented, I just read this already 110-minute movie was nearly an hour longer. And none of that extra runtime would have added to the revenge. It was more of the first and second act, because that's what we all wanted to see, right, guys?
Yeah, and it's just like, again, I understand what they were trying to go for with that, because it's like they're trying to build the relationship. They're showcasing that more. I get it. But when your actors suck, your chemistry sucks, your writing sucks, it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter.
The whole idea of him needing to save her from hell or wherever, that was just kind of dumb.
Yes, very.
Not kind of. It was very.
It was exactly just said. It was very, not just kind of. It was very.
Very
So,
Like, Rupert Sanders clearly, I guess he has some knowledge of the comics because like the horse thing at the beginning is from the comics, kind of. But he also took like different bits and pieces of other Crow characters to make this character. Like the tattoos and the weird black blood is from another Crow comic. It has nothing to do with Eric and Shelley. And the idea of him having to save her soul is from another Crow comic altogether as well. So it's like a weird Frankenstein of different Crow stories stuck into one.
I want to say that was probably Zach Balin, because I feel like Balin is probably a good writer. He wrote King Richard. That movie was nominated for Oscars. Like, it's apparently a good movie. So I want to say he probably had some like good part. But then there was also another writer whose literally only writing credit for a full feature was this movie. So maybe he did all the best. I don't know. Like, I don't like. Who knows? It's just like, it's just anger inducing how it's like, if you make a bad movie, just fucking own up to it. Why? I just don't get this stigma of blaming the people that literally gave you money to fucking like, I just don't get it. Like, it's something I can't wrap my head around in that regard. It's just stupid and it makes no sense. And it just,
And apparently, like that Crow you're talking about, the one with the tattoos, he's black, right?
Yeah, he's a black guy.
And there's also a Crow that's a Native American. And we're so we're so big on representation. You could have done a Crow movie where the Crow was black, or do the Native American. I think
there's a Mexican one cool.
Yeah.
He has a really cool look. He has like, I think the Mexican one, because I was just like quickly researching comics. I could be wrong on this, but the cover I saw, I think on the Mexican one, doesn't he have like a prosthetic arm or something? Because it kind of looked like he did.
He was a boxer, so he has like wraps on his hands and stuff.
Okay, I could have.
The dead look, that would be fucking cool.
Yeah, like stuff like that. It's just like, again, we're big on representation. Fucking just do. You know, like I would say this, like, hey, anybody out there who actually wants to do the Crow properly, not Rupert, fuck you, Rupert, but to anybody out there who wants to do the Crow properly, you know what I would be fucking down for? A fucking animated series, and like each season is a different Crow. That would be awesome.
So I saw an interview with James O'Barr from some comic convention, I think from 2010, maybe 2011, and in this comic convention he was doing, he said that he was trying to buy the rights back to the Crow from Miramax so he could do an animated series with the people who did Afro Samurai. And each season would focus on a different person coming back from the dead. And the first season would have been a retelling of Eric and Shelley's story from the comics.
That would be awesome. I would love to see that. I even had my own idea, which I'm actually not going to admit here because I'm actually really proud of the idea. And I don't want anybody to steal it. So I'm not saying that one. I'll say it once we get off. But yeah, I just think like animated, like seeing the Crow and like something like Spawn, like that, but the Crow, that would be fucking awesome. Like the Spawn animated series, that would be so fucking cool. James O'Barr, I hope your legacy, I hope your creation gets some respect in the future. Because the thing is, I want this movie to kill any bad shit that would come from the Crow. Don't do Eric Draven again. Don't like fucking just retell. Don't do all this dumb shit. But like, I can't deep in my heart say I don't want this to kill the Crow as a franchise, because it has so much fucking potential. It's such an innately great concept, and it's like kind of like a weirdly wholesome concept in a way, because it's all like it's the basis of love for another person so much that you can't move on to the afterlife, so you have to right this wrong. That's a nice concept, even though it's like there's a lot of darkness and grief around it. So it's like it's all of these concepts and all of these different ways to tell the story with these. Like, I want to just see the Crow, just not Eric, not this Gen Z fucking garbage. Just like do something innately interesting. I want to fucking see that so badly. It's like, fuck you, Rupert.
Well, I just
Honestly, because this movie is doing so poorly at the box office, honest to God, I'm starting to think this might be the last we see of anything Crow related for a while.
For a while, no, that would, yeah, of course.
I mean, it made less money, not adjusted for inflation, literally less money in the opening weekend than The Crow and The Crow City of Angels.
oh Jesus,
That's fucking awful.
yeah, that's bad.
Borderlands made more than this movie.
Yeah. And it's not looking up for Lionsgate because as much as I am excited for Megalopolis, that movie is not fucking making any money.
No,
That movie
Well, I
is
mean,
fucking-
even if it does, I mean, it costs $300 million for crying out loud. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah. So
yes,
it's
a passion project for
for
Coppola.
Francis Ford Coppola. So that's not making money. If Lionsgate doesn't go bankrupt by the end of the year, I'd be shocked.
It was just so confusing when we saw those first images from Vanity Fair and we saw the trailer and he looks like this. Like, if they had to modernize it, why did he have to look like that? Like, because not
Yeah.
everybody in 2024 who's a young guy looks like that. Like, I have regular long hair. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It just
No,
didn't
oh
make-
my God, please don't compare your hair to his hair. His hair, Jesus Christ, it looked like a fucking blind monkey cut it. I'm like, what's the formula for that fucking hairline? Like, goddamn, it was ugly as
Yeah.
shit.
Exactly.
Everything about the aesthetics of this movie just didn't make any sense to me. Like, you could have said a crow story in the modern day, but just had them be regular people. Because that's what makes the Crow so sad, is that they're regular people that you feel like you could know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it just looked like any other city, you know.
Yeah, exactly,
I mean,
exactly.
You don't have to have the same look as the first one, but you
No.
could have done something to make it look a little more twisted and a little stylized a bit, you know.
You know would be awesome? Like if they really want to go surreal with it, do like a German expressionist sort of.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah,
That would be badass.
that would be
That'd be
awesome.
cool. Yeah, that'd be really
But no, it's just Prague. It's just Czech Republic. Like, hey, that is a random European city.
You can tell it's not in America.
You can tell. I mean, the architecture looks great, but it's just like it's so like I don't know. It's just like the fact that they don't tell us, and it just like, and it is European. It's just like it's like kind of almost distracting a little bit. It's like
Yeah.
that's clearly not American architecture, and it's just not right. That it's just like that's a little disconcerting. Like it's not bad. It's just like that's
It's
I don't
confusing.
yeah. It's just like that's a choice, not a bad or a good choice, but just a choice.
I mean, yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah.
After the movie was over, before Alex and I walked out, we just sat there.
Yeah, we sat there.
Like, we
and
were
watched
in
someone else walk
shock.
out. We sat there and
The
watched
thing
someone
is-
else walk out.
I expected it, so like I was just like I just wanted to get the fuck out of there. So I just literally was like, yep, that was a movie. That was a fucking movie. I was just flipping the bird at the screen and just fucking left. I was just like,
Get it? Flipping the bird?
yeah, that's more clever than anything in this movie, and that was accidental.
You see what I have to put up with when I hang out with him? I put up with that.
Mhm.
We hang out with him even more. We got to deal with his bullshit. Like, of course.
Yeah, but he'd still be longer.
Yes.
That's fair. That's fair.
We go, dude. We go back 11 years.
Nice.
But
Been putting it up with him for that long, huh? That's crazy. But anyway, I think
that's why I drink.
we're at an hour 40. I think we should probably fuck this movie. Don't even support your local.
Don't watch
I know we
it.
say that even for bad movies. Don't even support your local theaters with this. Go see Alien Romulus. Go see. I don't even know if the Coraline re-release.
It's still
in theaters.
it's still there.
Go see Coraline. Honestly, I might go see. Go fucking see Blink twice. Because Devin, didn't you say that was really good?
It was very good. And tomorrow I'm seeing this new indie movie. It's getting a lot of critical acclaim. It's called Diddy.
Yeah. So see that. See Borderlands. That's probably better than this shit. Not
Or-
by
Okay, you just provoked me.
It's already going to be on streaming this week, so
Or
Wait, Borderlands
I have
already gonna be on streaming.
Ah,
I have a better idea. Just go out to the original Crow, the good one.
exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
in terms of
Exactly.
supporting your local theater, like obviously go see Alien, Romulus, Deadpool, Twister,
Yes.
you know, anything except this and probably Borderlands. See
Well,
anything.
so yeah, like we said,
Or go watch the original.
so like we were saying, so anyway, just because I want to play this clip, do we recommend Crow and Name?
Fucking nuts.
No, no glowing endorsement, glowing endorsement. Fuck this movie. It's already bombing. It's probably going to be on streaming in the beginning of September. Fuck you, Rupert Sanders. You're in the graveyard. So that is our long thoughts on Crow in name only.
The pigeon.
Thank you. Of course, I want to thank Alex for giving us his expertise. He definitely brought a lot to the table.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
the
Alex.
invite. Thanks for the invite, guys.
Oh, we appreciate it.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned next time for possibly a special stream and our review, another review hosted by yours truly of Beetlejuice. Cannot fucking wait. One of my most anticipated of the year. So to anyone, we had a lot of viewers for this stream. To anyone who watched us, thank you. To our one troll, thank you. Subscribe to the channel. Support your local theaters by watching other movies. And always remember, it can't rain all the time.
Once again, we have brought light into the world. You're welcome, America.